I want to show how a field technician uses the field portal on a mobile device while refreshing a deployed asset. In this scenario, the store will issue the new assets, which are a desktop and a monitor, which the technician will come and collect once they've received notice on their portal that these assets are ready. I will be switching back between the application and the portal to highlight how the portal and the application work together. The application via the portal is updated in real time, and the reporting and SLA capabilities within the application are huge. I'm now going to switch over to the main application and drill down on one of the new assets in the store. The asset I have selected is a Lenovo ThinkCentre. On the top right, you can see that its status is in store and that it is in location L004, which is a store holding area from where assets can be issued for collection or shipping. We keep track of the refresh on the Finance tab under Refresh Matching. You can see that this asset has not been matched through a refresh yet. And this is the task of the portal that we will be showing. On the Document tab, there are two documents, the Asset Creation document and one field movement that placed the asset into the holding store.
This is the home page for the technician Neil, and this home page will be on his mobile device. As you can see, he has no collections as none have been allocated to him. So I'm going to go back to the allocation and allocate assets for him to use in his refresh. I'm using a manual method to allocate assets to him in the application. I'm creating a collections document based off the main store that has the assets in it. I will nominate him as the technician and allocate the two new assets to him, which will be a Lenovo desktop and a monitor. Only assets that are unallocated and in the store can be selected. When the internal collection button or action is clicked, the technician will be informed of the collection on his home page. The home page automatically refreshes every minute, but I will manually refresh it to speed up the demo. You can see that he has one collection ready for him. If we go back to the application, we can see that the asset status is now for collection. In addition, the field movement document is performing detailed tracking and its status has gone to store to handover. We will now go and perform the collection in the portal and come back to the asset to see the changes in the application that were automated via the portal. The technician, once he sees that he has a collection, will in this scenario go to the store and collect the asset. With his mobile device in hand, Neil will perform a paperless collection by having the storeman Akash enter his credentials, so that Neil's AD credentials, he is already logged on, together with Akash's, are part of the paperless audit trail. And Akash will have this issue of the assets with the AD credentials as proof that he performed an approved release of the asset to Neil. Neil completes the collection clicking on the completed button. There is obviously a number of ways in which this paperless verification can be done, each dependent on the circumstances. When the technician Neil returns to his home page on his mobile device, the collection's ready quantity is back to 0, but the quantity of assets to install has increased to 2. If you drill down on that queue, the same 2 assets are displayed. If we go back to the application, we can see that the asset has been keeping track as its status has now changed to with technician. In addition, the collection is marked as complete. We will now go back to the portal and perform the refresh on the portal. The technician starts the refresh process by clicking on the refresh button on the home screen. The refresh process opens up and the technician now needs to identify the user. The user information is pre-populated via an integration, and that integration can be from AD or HR. If there is no integrated user, the username can also be typed in. Next, the technician identifies the location where the asset will be installed. Select Next to continue with the process. The technician must select the assets that will be used in the refresh. These are the new assets. In this case, the technician only has 2 assets, so he selects the 2 that are displayed. The next task is to identify the old assets, the assets that the user already has and the ones that will be deinstalled. There are a number of ways of doing this, for example by scanning in the asset tag. We are going to search for the assets and select them. Once we have identified both the new and the deinstalled assets, the system will allow us to start the refresh. So the technician will select the Start button. We are now going to go back to the application to see that the asset is tracking the process. The asset is now in the status under installation, and the field movement shows refresh in progress. Back in the portal, if more than one asset is being refreshed at a time, the old and the new assets must be matched. We do that because we don't assume matching on model types. This is proved to be unreliable. Once the refresh has been completed, the client needs to sign off on their new items. The technician will click on the signature button. The tablet is handed to the user and they sign on the tablet by means of a stylus. The technician then completes the refresh. This scenario has an option by which the technician can leave an asset on site. This will cause the asset to appear in a driver's queue so that the driver can come independently and collect the deinstalled assets from the user. We will now just select No. Back on the home screen, the technician has no assets to install. Instead, they have 2 deinstalled assets, which they now have to return to a store. Checking the application, we can see that the asset status is now installed. The Financial tab shows that this asset has refreshed an asset, and it has a reference to the field movement process that performed the refresh. This provides a complete audit trail. Going to the Document tab, we can drill down to the field movement and see the document that the user signed off. The user will also get a copy of this document via email. This is all automated. For completeness, the rest of the video will show the technician returning the deinstalled assets, as the technician Neil does not want to be held accountable for those assets, and currently they are sitting as a quantity on his deinstalled queue. However, we are not going to be showing anything new, so the remainder of this video can be skipped. In the application, the old asset shows the status with technician deinstalled. Also on its Financial tab, we clearly indicate that it's been refreshed, and we also show the asset that refreshed it. This information will prevent the asset from being recommissioned. In the portal, to return the asset, the technician will select the Assets Deinstalled button. They will select the assets to return. Generally, it will be all the deinstalled assets. They will then select the Return to Store button. The technician needs to identify the store that they will return the assets to. This information will normally be pre-populated, and this step can be skipped. Thereafter, they select Next and then select Hand to Store. The storeman must now accept the assets via the application. The Store Return field movement has the assets that the technician selected for return. The storeman selects Received, and they have to provide their credentials to confirm the receipt. If we go back to the portal, we can now confirm that Neil has no more assets under his name, as the deinstalled assets quantity is back to 0. In the application, the deinstalled asset status is shown as returned. And this concludes the refresh process.